Hey, I'm Charles Kabuga. I'm Ugandan, but I am in Chinga from southwestern Uganda, and basically my education has been my education line has been real academic. I was teaching at the university, doing extramural work. Extramural work is you can call it the extension services of a university, of Makerere University. And this is how I even got an opportunity to do a master's degree in adult education in America. I interacted with lots of educators. So my line really has been academic. And my profession is adult education. Adult education. And I got involved in cooperatives because the teachers at the cooperative colleges were actually entering the colleges through a back door, not a front door. They learned accounts, they learned these other things. So they didn't have any methods of passing on what they learned to adults. So that was my role, actually, dealing with the cooperative college lecturers in East, Central, and Southern Africa, which I did for 9 years. And therefore, you can see from the university where I did a stint of 9 to the other 9 years teaching adult cooperative college lecturers wasn't much in the field. So when I retired from teaching, I was appointed as the General Secretary of Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Uganda Cooperative Alliance is the umbrella organization of Uganda's cooperative movement. And I have, it's 23 years since I retired. So you can say I have lost touch with the farmers. Yeah, but I continue to read and write and give guidance here and there. So I think my help can really be to direct you to people involved in actual farming of coffee and cotton and even other agricultural produce. Because at the Uganda Cooperative Alliance where I worked, there was a model developed of how producers can be financed by SACCOs, savings and credit organizations, to produce whatever they produce, beans, coffee, maize, bananas, animals, coffee, and then they market it and then send and receive the money through the SACCOs that they have. So it's a kind of triangular model to pick grassroots farmers and make them do that. And each season or every cycle, there is improvement. In fact, I have written a book which is about to be published, which describes all that.
What's the name of the book, if you don't mind? Yes.
Making cooperative work
Okay.
and harnessing social capital to make a difference to farmers.
Wow.
Yeah. So But I have been to all those organizations that produce those things because these farmers also affiliate to those which were affiliated to the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. So I had to go and see what they were doing, what they were involved in, and give advice here and there. Yeah, so essentially, really, I haven't been on the farm, apart from what I do myself locally, including this urban farming, which you are seeing around me. But the people I think you have in mind are those unions, for example, or large societies which are involved in agriculture of different types. And the best contact you can have is the organization where I used to work, the Uganda Cooperative Alliance, which has links with them. And 23 years in retirement, really, you can say I've lost touch. Not in the sense of really not interacting with them, because if I am writing books for them to know how cooperatives function, I'm certainly writing for them.
Yes.
So that is it.
Okay. Are there any powerful stories that you would like to tell that you've witnessed in your time dealing with agriculture?
Well, for example, when I was still at the Uganda Cooperative Alliance in 1990s, this is when structure adjustments programs were being introduced, and Uganda opted for liberalizing the economy as opposed to what it was doing before. So the unions which were producing coffee and cotton, which were being supported by government parastatals like the Coffee Marketing Board and the Produce Marketing Board or the Lint Marketing Board, now ceased to help these unions. So it was my responsibility to link them, create a company which got them into coffee export marketing. And well, the wars of liberation had affected them. So they didn't, and besides, because they were more or less being supported financially by government through these parastatals, they hadn't learned how to interact with the financial institutions. And given the competition now from multinationals who came with cheap money and competing for a small crop, they were increasingly phased out, really, out-competed. But the experience we had when they first started was that they were realizing the best prices, and it can be done. In fact, if they had support, they could even add value to their product.
Yes.
Bugisu Cooperative Union, for example, is involved in adding value, and I think that is the area they would be interested in to get. They can get the support to see how they collectively add value to the coffee. There are ideas floating around, but you know the beauty with the cooperatives is, and I don't know how much you know about cooperatives, but the cooperative can be summarized into user owners. Those who use the cooperatives are the owners. And because they are owners, they control it. and they control it for their own benefits. In fact, the history of cooperatives is such that in Britain, where they started, when these industries came in and the capitalism really dug deep roots into the system, people felt that they could form unions, for example, trade unions.
Yes.
But trade unions didn't have much far to go because they were colluding with governments, because they were paying government. So if people protested, they were alone. They didn't have government support them because it also was being funded by the capitalists who were running these industries.
Yes.
So they said, now, why don't we start? Why can't we be our own employers? And this is how cooperatives started. And they established rules to govern them. And actually, it's a mega trend. And the book I'm writing shows that they are posed to be in business for the long haul. But using that concept, are talking about the people, the cooperative movement, who work together,
Yes.
how they will manage this fourth industrial revolution, how they will manage this digital era.
So, are cooperatives an enemy of the government, would you say?
No, governments might loathe them, not like them, because if they represent economy, power, for example, in a multi-party dispensation, they can paralyze governments. So governments are very careful how they deal with them. They can't kill them because these are self-will. You can't, if people decide to cooperate, you can't kill them.
Right.
So they are tolerated. But there could be good policies which make them really sprout.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of things we were advocating for. What kind of policies should be in place to make cooperatives make their own contribution?
Yes.
Because neither capitalism nor socialism has been able to solve people's problems.
Right. That's very true.
And we cannot say that cooperatives on their own can solve those problems either. It's a combination of the best from each system.
Yes.
But the advantage with the cooperatives is they have values of solidarity, of self-help, of mutual help, of democracy,
Yes.
of fairness, of equity, which these other systems lack. And the way the countries are moving is that this human element has to come in. This fairness has to come in.
That's very true. Exactly right. I totally agree.
Yeah. So for me, that's my line.
God has
in
to
other words,
intervene.
I'm more of a theorist,
Yes.
telling people what they need to do to get themselves out of problems. Because if you describe America, for example, as capitalist, it's not true that it is wholly capitalist, because it subsidizes its farmers. You saw what happened in 2008 when there was the financial crisis.
crash, yes.
Taxpayers' money were used to help these private companies. So, to that extent, they practice a bit of socialism mixed with capitalism, but more towards, it's a continuum. The socialists are more towards the left, the capitalists, so you can say